Hit that like, hit that subscribe, share this show because the Sports Hounds start up right now.
Let's go! This ain't the fuck like oh, this game he stinks!
Oh shit!
It's gone!
Happy Monday night, everyone. This is the Sports Hounds, exclusively on A2DRadio.com. He's Brad Ryer. I'm Rob Brinkman. Frank Vesby's producing this show. Be sure to hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that share button. You know, maybe you're just checking us out here for the first time in 2022, or you've been here the whole damn time. Just remember, put those notifications on. Don't miss anything. We're live on Facebook. We're live on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Periscope, Instagram. You miss anything here on A2D Radio, download us wherever you get your podcasts, Spreaker, Spotify, Google Play, iHeartRadio, iTunes, Takeover Talk, 2022. Going to be a year of A2D Radio. Unfortunately, we're going to have to put something on hold. I got to let the people know. I hate to start the show on a downer, but Brad, the NFL has inexplicably flexed the Eagles-Dallas game to 8 p.m. on Saturday night. So we're not going to be doing the Ramp Booth tailgate party at night on Saturday. Just too many moving parts for a night game. So we're going to have to get out with the people, some other time. So if you were planning to come down to the Ramp Booth tailgate party for the Eagles-Dallas game on Sunday, we really appreciate it, but we're not going to be doing it. Unfortunately, with this silly flexing, which I don't really understand why they picked our game. The only reason I can think of is that they're lining up the Eagles to have a Saturday playoff game, the following week. So
maybe
everything's on regular rest. But we had a big show, per usual, here on Monday night, and life will go on. We'll get out with the people more in 2022. But we had a big Monday night football game tonight. It looks like it's going to be end of the Big Ben era in Pittsburgh. We're going to talk about his legacy. Steelers with a slim chance to sneak in these AFC playoffs, even though it looks like they'll need a miracle along with them and the Ravens. Bengals clinched the AFC North today. It looks like they're going to be the only representative from the AFC North. And, Brad, that's why they play the games. Because if you told me before the season that the Bengals were going to be the only team in the AFC North to make the playoffs, I would have said you were stone crazy.
Yeah, I would agree. That's really shocking.
I mean, the Browns were my Super Bowl pick.
Yeah, I didn't pick them to get to the Super Bowl, but I thought that they were going to be one of the top teams. They've been very disappointing this year.
And, Baker Mayfield, he stinks. I'm off that bandwagon. They have a good running game and a good defense. Maybe if they can get that quarterback situation figured out, like so many teams have to in the NFL. It's really staggering, like how bad quarterback play is across the league. And that's why you got to give Big Ben huge props for, keeping the Steelers, in the mix in the AFC for as many years as he has. And he was
absolutely. He's done everything you could ask for out of a quarterback, to get them to be competitive every season. Yeah, some years his defense wasn't good enough. His offensive line was definitely not good enough most of the time. But he managed to find ways to win. And he was clutch. He won a lot of big playoff games. Very rarely do you ever see him have a bad game in a big game. He was always there when the bright lights were on. And I would think that he would come out today and play a real good game.
That's our poll. We'll get to that in a minute. But, Brett, you separate these guys into, the playmakers, the guys who can run around, make their teammates better. Maybe they don't necessarily put up the best stats in the world, but, they're there in the big games and they make their teammates better. And then you have the tacticians like Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Unitas, if you want to go back to your era. And that's why I like doing these, because you're a little longer in the tooth than me. You got a lot of wisdom up there. And, I'm not that young anymore, but I was like.
You know who he was a lot like? I could give you two quarterbacks that he was a lot like. Bart Starr and Bob Greasy. I think he was a little better than Greasy. I don't think he was quite as good as Starr, but I put him in that kind of ilk because you know what? This is a guy that he didn't run the ball. He wasn't a runner, okay, but he was more like a scrambler. I mean, he wasn't a scrambler like Franz Harkington, but he was a scrambler. He would, if there was a pass rush, he'd get out of the way. He'd move around. He very rarely looked to run the ball. He was always looking downfield, trying to throw the ball and find open receivers. You know, and that was the name. That's always been the name of his game. As he started getting older and his arm was not quite as strong, it became more of a quick 3-step drop passing game. And you know, every time he had to adjust his game to his physical limitations due to his injuries later in his career, he was able to do it. I just think that, you know, it gets to a point, though, where, you know, if you're just not mobile enough and you've been injured enough, you know, your body can't do it anymore. And as you've said many times, you know, Father Time is undefeated. And it is kind of time for him to go before he gets hurt again. You know, it's just it's you hate to see guys leave, but it is time for him to go. It really is. He's had a great career. I think he's definitely Hall of Famer. He in his era, he was one of the best quarterbacks of his era, for sure. Never the best, but you know, always in the top 5, top 6. He was an elite quarterback, no question about that.
You know, we got that. We got a huge NFL show. We got the playoff picture. We got a whole slate of games. We got 2 Saturday games next week. We have a big Sunday nighter between the Raiders and the Chargers that looks like it's going to be for a playoff spot. And
yeah, I'll tell you what, if any of you A to D listeners out there and watchers can tell me who's going to win that game, I'd like to hear who you guys think is going to win that game.
It's probably the 2 most bipolar teams in the whole NFL.
Oh, absolutely. You're talking about 2 teams.
Time.
You're talking about 2 teams that could beat anybody in the league, and can also lose to anybody in the league. You know, I mean, the Chargers lost, I believe, to the Texans one week, and
I don't know about that. They definitely lost to the Giants.
No, I'm talking about the Chargers.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the Chargers. It was last week.
Yeah, they lost to the Texans. The Raiders lost to the Giants. So I mean, you're talking, and you're just talking about 2 teams that lose games that should never be lost in a million years. But you know, it happens.
And we got the Sixers. We got the Sixers on. We'll have early leans. We'll have a national championship preview. We'll actually have national championship next week in our spots. The Sports Hounds, another rematch, the SEC championship game. We'll go over that in early leans. Sixers are on. The Ben Simmons saga continues to just get steam and go nowhere. I don't know what's going on. But as always, each and every Monday night, we're brought to you by Dr. Paul Vidal, specialized physical therapy, 2 convenient locations in Burlington and Cherry Hill. We're also brought to you by Body Check Wellness, a line of products that promote wellness, balance, and recovery by using the full potential of hemp. They come in extracts, blends, gummies, and topicals. Use promo code A2D, 25% off. Also, it's the holidays. I hope everyone had a happy and safe holiday and New Year season. But if you're having trouble with mental health and addiction issues, hit up the Sunrise Detox Center. Tell them A2D Radio sent you. Tell them Rob Brinkman, Brad Ryer, Sports Hounds. No shame in asking for help, folks. There's the number right there, 856-651-8117. No shame in asking for help. Let's get to our poll question. Let's get to some comments. Be mixing it up with the people here. I think it's like I probably should have made this poll question, you know, is Big Ben a top 20 quarterback of all time? But I didn't. I made it a top 10 quarterback of all time. And, like, I disagree, but, like, I thought that the poll question could propel us into, you know, some quarterback debates, especially between me and you with some of the older school guys that I've really only seen film of and the guys that I've seen live. But, I mean, I think my biggest memory of Big Ben is, first off, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say he was better than Eli Manning and he was better than Phillip Rivers, those were the big 3 quarterbacks in that 2004 draft.
I would agree with you.
And you had Eli with the drama. He got picked first, right? or second.
Yeah, no, he was the first pick.
But he ultimately ended up in New York, and I think Rivers went third or fourth, and then Big Ben went 11th. So I'll give him that.
Something like that, yeah, something like that.
Out of Miami of Ohio, so a small school guy. He would have never been on my draft board because you hear me yelling, screaming Howie Roseman all week long. SEC, Big Ten, Notre Dame, Clemson. So Big Ben, I wouldn't have even sniffed him. And that's probably a flaw on my part. There's the highlight on ESPN. So the first thing I remember he came in. I forget who the quarterback was that he took over for, but he went in 15-1 as a starter, rookie of the year, got the Steelers to the AFC Championship game, and they fell to the great Tom Brady. So that his rookie year was just super spectacular.
It was phenomenal. Listen, you could compare him very favorably with his rookie year to Dan Marino's rookie year. Very favorably.
So, yeah, you have that. And then you look at his career, he's been blessed with a stable organization. I mean, you look at some of these organizations around the league, and they're just train wrecks. They're clown organizations left and right. But correct me if I'm wrong, Ben Roethlisberger only played for 2 head coaches.
That's correct.
In Bill Cowher and
now
Mike Tomlin. So that helps a lot. But Big Ben's still there too. And the Steelers haven't had a losing season, I think, in like 17 years or something like that. So that goes directly to the quarterback play.
Yeah, and also they've had good coaching. I know people like to criticize Tomlin, but I think Tomlin is a tremendous coach.
First off, and then another feather.
I mean, sometimes you look at him and you wonder how the heck that team ends up being competitive, because there have been some years where they've had so many injuries that there was nobody even left, and he would coach them to be respectable.
And first off, and another thing to Mike Tomlin, Ben Roethlisberger shared a huddle for 9 seasons with maybe the biggest loose cannon knucklehead this NFL has ever seen in Antonio Brown. Did you see his antics yesterday?
He's a clown. Yeah, I mean, there's no. I mean, the Jets, and you know what? Good for the Jets that they played such a strong, prideful game against a great team like Tampa Bay. Good for them. But he took what was a really good game, and he made a joke out of it, and that was really awful. I mean, how do you do that? And how do you run off the field? I mean, there's something mentally wrong with this guy. You and I have been saying that off camera for a while, but he needs help.
But I mean, for Big Ben to have to stand with that knucklehead in the huddle for 9 seasons.
He wasn't the only knucklehead on the team. What about the running back?
You had Bell, and he just wanted his money, and that's fine. But to have him in your ear for 9 seasons and still be able to do your job and be able to task it out, be task oriented, and still get wins. I mean, that's another feather in your cap. So he's the best quarterback in the 2004 draft. He put up with Antonio Brown for 9 years. He's got 1 Super Bowl, bunch of playoff appearances, bunch of playoff wins.
Ben had 2.
Ben had 2 because they won in 2006. Yeah, and then he had the magical game against Arizona, best Super Bowl ever.
Yeah, he had the Arizona game and he had the 49er game.
So already, if you want to look at championships, Steve Young had 1, Brett Favre had 1, Aaron Rodgers has 3?
1.
He has 1. Right, he has 3 MVP awards. I'm sorry.
Right.
So if you want to look at just championships, and Dan Marino, and I know it's not all about championships. We're not going to get all about championships here because I like to use my eyes and see what.
Well, one player in the NFL you can't win a championship with 1 player in the NFL.
Yeah, some have tried, but I mean, really, no one's really succeeded.
No, it's almost impossible. I mean, other than the Browns in '64 with Jim Brown. I mean, and then they had a pretty good defense to go along with it. So, but I mean, you have to go a long way back to see any team win basically with 1 superstar on their team. I mean,
and then my third point on why I agree to the poll that Big Ben is a top 10 quarterback of all time is he's the greatest quarterback on one of the most storied franchises in NFL history. I'm taking him over Terry Bradshaw slightly. I know Terry Bradshaw's got the 4 rings, but, I'll take Ben Roethlisberger's playmaking ability, his size, his arm strength over Terry Bradshaw. And yes, I'm going to be.
I wouldn't give you the.
Well, I'm also using recency bias with this analysis because Terry Bradshaw played in the 70s, 20 years before I was born.
No, I understand. But listen, Terry Bradshaw, the one thing Terry Bradshaw had was an unbelievable arm. I mean, he had a rifle. That was his strength. That and he could run. And early in his career he could run. When he started getting the injuries started piling up, then he couldn't run anymore, but he had an unbelievable arm. He also, listen, and fair is fair. Terry Bradshaw had Franco Harris. Okay. He had Lynn Swann. He had the steel curtain on defense.
Mean Joe and Lambert and
right.
The whole thing.
Yeah, that team was loaded. So Mel Blount. I could go on and on with that Steeler defense, but I remember Bradshaw pretty well. Bradshaw was really good. I can't give you that because winning 4 Super Bowls is quite a feat.
But then but to counter that argument, Brad, I'm going to say Big Ben got more than one, so he got multiples against the undisputed GOAT of all time in the same conference as him. So he had to go through Brady. I know he's on Tampa now, but he's in New England. Brady's New England.
Right.
Like you got to go through Brady every single year. You're drafted in 2004. Brady's in 2001 or 2000 or whatever it was. So you got multiple championships in the GOAT era of Tom Brady. I wonder.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember who he used to.
I'm trying to remember if he won.
Ken Stabler. He had some epic battles against Ken Stabler. Marino was in '84, so he wasn't part of that. I'm just trying to remember back then who were some of the top quarterbacks back then, because that was a long time ago, obviously. But Joe Montana was 1980, so didn't come till 1980, so it wasn't him. Look. He had guys that he had to beat too.
I understand, but they weren't.
He had that Miami Dolphin team in the 70s was really good.
I know, but Brad, they just flashed up on the screen. We're talking about Big Ben as a potential top 10 guy. He's got 20,000 less passing yards than Tom Brady.
Well, that's Brady. Brady's the best.
That was his competition. That was his competition for the whole time. And I understand.
Ben. Yeah. Look, also the game is a lot different now than it was then. Back then they allowed holding and hitting. You got to bump the receiver. And there was no illegal contact back then. So it was, and also the hash marks were real wide like it is in college football. So, it was a completely different game. Plus, the goalpost was on the goal line. So,
I think Ben would try. Don't you think? Because we look at some guys in this league, and we look and say, "Oh man, if they were able to get hit and tossed around like they did in the 70s and the 80s, they wouldn't flourish." I think Ben would flourish. He was big.
Ben would be okay. He
was big. He was strong. He was athletic. He had a good arm, and he was a total winner. So I think that
he would have been fine back then. I'm not saying that's not what I'm trying to say. I'm just trying to say if you're talking about him and Bradshaw, Bradshaw still won 4 Super Bowls, Rob. And they beat some awfully good teams along the way. The Raiders back then were an outstanding football team. They had everybody and everything back in those days. They had Biletnikoff, and he had to beat Biletnikoff, and he had to beat Cliff Branch, and Ken Stabler.
Yeah.
They had everybody back. Marcus Allen. They were just that was a really, really good team back then that they had to try to beat. He had his players too. Terry Bradshaw, again, he had Franco Harris, and he had Rocky Plyer, and he had Randy Grossman, and he had Lynn Swann. I mean, he had his share of great go-to offensive players too. So, it's a little, and you could make the argument about him winning 4 Super Bowls is that back then you didn't have free agency, so it was a lot easier to keep your team above water.
I know it's tough because they're championships. Everybody remembers who finishes first in every single season, and people remember if you finished, second or third every single season. That's just the way it is. But I try and keep championships out of these conversations as much as possible. Let's talk about what I saw. Let's talk about some stats. Let's talk about how much help you had, and then let's look at how many championships you won. Anyway, let's get to some comments. Comment boards brought to you by 20% off and free shipping with the code A2D on manscaped.com. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job. Manscaped. Also, all campus giving you 20% off everything in the store, including hats, shirts, and our team cornhole sets to our subscribers. Follow the link in the profile on the YouTube page. $9.99 a month gets you amazing perks, shout outs, members only shows, appearances, and weekly picks from the Money Pop podcast. Willie Vegas throws some smoke in there too. I like the Steelers tonight. I'm not an expert. Pay that $9.99, get a winner. But I do like the Steelers tonight on Big Ben night, laying 2. So let's get to some comments.
I would agree, by the way.
Real 5,300. Fly Eagles fly. Yeah, we got a live football team. I mean, you got the Eagles in the playoffs. You got the Bengals clinching the AFC North.
Who would have thought that the Eagles would have clinched it a week before the end of the season, no less?
Yeah, everyone's worried. Oh, we have to beat Dallas. Nope, we don't have to beat Dallas. Now we're flexing a stupid Saturday night, and we can't do our tailgate party. And we all have COVID now. I don't know if you caught that, Brad.
Yeah, I heard 12
guys have COVID.
You could probably thank Washington for that.
So everyone's gonna. I fully expect the Eagles to just kind of not lay down.
It doesn't matter what they do. The Eagles should be making sure that they're healthy and they're ready to go on whoever they have to play in the playoffs. Right now probably it's going to be either it's pretty much going to be either Tampa Bay or the Rams, depending on where they finish. They finish, I guess, if both the Rams and Tampa Bay win, I guess the Tampa Bay's got the 2 hole guaranteed. Sorry,
I was looking at the Steelers playoff scenarios in the background here.
Okay,
which they have no shot at making the playoffs.
No.
What was your question?
If you take a look.
Look, the Eagles have a 46. I think I know where you're going with it. The Eagles have a 46% chance to play Tampa.
Yeah, they're probably going to play Tampa Bay, and to me, that's not a good matchup for them.
No, not at all.
Because the Eagles like to run the football, and Tampa Bay is very hard to run against. They've got their issues in the secondary, no doubt, but I don't think Jalen Hurts and the Eagles' passing game is really good enough to take full advantage of that.
No, I told you. I want to avoid Brady. I want to avoid Rodgers for as long as we can. I know you're going to have to play. You're going to be a 7 seed probably.
Yeah, I mean, I actually think I think that they might have a shot against Dallas. Who knows if they play Dallas, but then they'd have to finish 5th, and I don't think that can happen. I'll tell you what, who really impressed me yesterday were the Cardinals.
Finally got themselves off the mat.
Did they ever? And they walked into Dallas and they basically handed them their butts. I mean, they put a licking on that defense. That defense hasn't gotten beat up like that in a long time. That Dallas defense.
I want to bring up some schedules.
And you know what, they exposed Dallas's defense.
Big
and I'm
time.
going to tell you how they were able to expose them. What they did, if you didn't notice, okay, every time their great linebacker, whose name escapes me right now,
Parsons,
Micah Parsons. Every time he lined up on one side, they just ran on the other. They just ran on the other side of him and kept him out of the game. And Murray would take a look and see what side of the field he was on, and he'd run to the other side every time. I mean, Murray would even run to his left just to avoid him. And I think that's something that, it is a major factor because if he can't get to him, the rest of their defense just isn't as good. You know, and Kyler Murray has been able to. It looks like Green and Kirk are both back and healthy. I don't know what the status of DeAndre Hopkins is.
Yeah, I don't think the Cardinals know either.
Yeah, I don't know if he's going to be back or not. But if I were the Cowboys, especially now that they lost Galloway for the season, I'd be really, really concerned about having to play the Cardinals in the first round.
Look, with the Cowboys, like, and I want to bring up their schedule a little later, get some more comments, but it's every year. It's every year with the Cowboys. All bark, no bite. October bark, January, they go home with their tail between their legs. If they even make it to January, good for them. They made it this year. They're not going anywhere in the playoffs. They're going nowhere.
Ezekiel Elliott yesterday,
He's so washed. He's so washed.
The Cardinals slammed it right down his throat. I mean, I got to tell you, just maybe I'm nuts to say this. I think Pollard at this stage of his career is more dangerous than Ezekiel Elliott is.
Completely agree with you. He's more explosive.
Yeah, I mean, he may not be quite as good a receiver, but I mean, he caught a big pass. But Pollard actually did catch a big pass. But you know, if you have to make and listen, I'm not saying Dak isn't is not a franchise quarterback. He is, but if you make him have to throw and make him have to sit in the pocket and throw, he gets what they call happy feet. He really does. He's not comfortable throwing 30, 40 times a game. And you know what? I think Murray could throw the ball all day if he wanted to.
He's an unbelievable talent. It's just that team just has these brain farts, and they just can't get out of their own way. Like, you can't lose that game on Christmas if you want to go to an NFC title game. Darius Leonard's out for the Colts. Their whole line's out.
They played a really stupid game that night, the Cardinals. But whatever it was that ailed them, they played an outstanding game yesterday. I mean, I got to tell you, that was a joy to watch somebody take Dallas and club him on the head a few times. Every time Dallas got close, the Cardinals offense would get another first down. You know, and when the way they ran out the clock yesterday, I think the Cardinals got the ball back yesterday. The Cowboys had cut the lead to 25-22. And then the Cardinals offense got the ball back, and I mean, they got first down after first down after first down and ran the clock out. You know, took the last 5 minutes and just took the air right out of the ball, and Dallas never saw the ball again.
Oh, let's get back to some comments. Tommy Arnone's in the house. Let's talk about it. It's such a tough poll question. Yeah, that's why it's the poll question. I thought it was a good one. You know, maybe I could have made it a little better to get Brad on board with me. But, you know, we like to agree, disagree here. I think he's a top 10 quarterback of all time. I'm taking him. I'm going to formulate my list.
I would take him. I don't think he's top 10. But
I'm going to formulate my list as the show goes on. That's
not to degrade him in any way. You know, I've seen a lot more quarterbacks from a lot of different eras, and it's really hard to compare quarterbacks that are in different eras because the game was so much different, you know, in each era. So, you know, that's a hard thing to do. I mean, I think you could put him. He's not Peyton Manning for sure. He's not Drew Brees. He's not Steve Young, but he's not Dan Marino, but he's really, really, really good.
Well, I think there's some obvious guys that are just far and away better than Ben Roethlisberger. Brady, Manning, Elway, Montana, Favre. Even though I think it's close. Breeze has all these records, but
Staubach, got to give him. You got to stick him in there too. I mean, he won 2 Super Bowls, and he was a dynamite quarterback.
You lead with that with every guy with the championships.
Well, championships are important, Rob. But I mean, it's not with Roger
Staubach. Football's the ultimate team game, Brad.
I know, but Roger Staubach had some was really good, Rob.
He didn't have loaded teams in Dallas in the 70s. I mean, he had Randy White, and all these guys.
Yeah, no, he had a lot of real good teams. He did. I'm not in any way saying he didn't, but you know, he had some unbelievable receivers. He had Drew Pearson. We remember how good he was. I mean, at the end of his career, he had Tony Dorsett too. I mean, he obviously he had plenty of guys, but I'm just going by. I can remember how hard he was to tackle and what a great runner Roger Staubach was. Because back then, most quarterbacks didn't just run the ball. I mean, Roger, first chance he had to run, if you rushed him and you blitzed him, if you didn't get him, he was going to run for 20 yards. I mean, it was every time. I mean, Roger was basically – he wasn't as fast as, say, a guy like Jalen Hurts. He wasn't fast like that, but he was a great runner, and he was hard as hell to bring down. And he always was able to get out of bounds, so he never got hurt until the very end of his career. That's what made him so tough to deal with. But I put him up there too, and I can't stand the Cowboys. So let's get this straight. I can't stand him. I think Fran Tarkington was better than him too, and Fran Tarkington lost the Super Bowl 4 times. I think Jim Kelly was better than he was as well. And so there's a lot of guys. Steve Young, I think, was better than he was. But that's not to say that he wasn't a great quarterback. He was really good, and he won the 2 championships. He was not a game manager in any way, shape, or form. I mean, he was a terrific player.
Pete Evans. Pete hosts the Birds of a Feather with Chucks right here on A2D Radio. He disagrees to the poll, but he thinks Ben's top 15. So he thinks Ben's right there.
You could put him in the top. I think you could put him in the top 15. I wouldn't disagree with that. I just don't think he's top 10. There have been a lot of really, really good quarterbacks.
I mean,
I'm not just talking about guys who won the Super Bowl. I'm talking there's Dan Marino never won one. And when Elway did win those 2 Super Bowls, he was barely responsible for those. That was more Terrell Davis than anything else when he won those 2 Super Bowls. Same thing with Peyton Manning when he was in Denver. If you remember when they were playing Carolina that year, I mean they barely let him throw the ball half the time
and then they lost. They lost when he threw 50 touchdown passes to the Seahawks. They got smoked.
Right. So,
Bryce Blackwell's in the house. Bengals was surprising. I don't know. They got players. Look, Bryce, all we're saying is you have 2-3 powerhouses in that division, the Browns, the Steelers, and the Ravens. And I think you could have picked any one of them and no one would have argued with you. The only one that in the AFC North anyone would have argued with was the Bengals winning the AFC North. But here we are on January 3rd, and the Bengals are going to the playoffs as division champions. I think they can do some damage too.
I wouldn't want to play them.
He's got Georgia in the rematch. Look, I don't know how much more of Alabama you have to see. First off, Alabama's a fucking human ATM machine. You just put it on Bama, and you just sit back and relax, and you cash every freaking time.
You're right about that.
And once every 2.5 years, they'll drop a game in the SEC. But that's it. So if you want to take Georgia and lose your money, that's fine, Bryce. I'm betting Bama. I'm betting Bama big, and we're rolling with the Tide. He thinks Ben Roethlisberger.
I can't argue. I just don't think Georgia can beat them.
Better coach, better quarterback.
Well, look, just because they smoked Michigan, you don't think Alabama would have smoked Michigan?
Yeah,
Alabama would have had them for lunch as well, and Cincinnati actually, as far as I was concerned, I thought Cincinnati played them pretty tough. They just didn't have the horses.
Shane Trent, he's on YouTube. Steelers and Ravens got eliminated from playoffs contention by Jaguars Central Time. So what, the Jaguars played who yesterday?
The Patriots.
So yeah, the Patriots
they beat them 50 to 10.
50 to 10, yeah. So that put a huge damper on those 2 teams' playoff berth. Yeah, but I mean the Jaguars, they need some real help. They need some real help down there. I mean, they've lost 8 in a row. They've clearly quit. They've rolled over. They're not talented. They're screwing up a exceptional talent in Trevor Lawrence. So they need some help.
And that's unacceptable for that to happen.
To be this bad? No, you shouldn't be this bad.
No.
I think, Brad, I think the only team that's sorrier than the Jaguars in the NFL right now is the Giants.
Yeah, but at least the Giants have an excuse. They don't have their quarterback in there, and they're missing a ton of players. But I mean, the Giants have also quit. If you want to take it to that level, the Giants have completely quit on their coach, which is one of the reasons why I can't understand how they want to keep him there. The clueless owner John Mara doesn't want to fire him yet. So hopefully, public pressure will make this guy do something.
Samuel Rowe, he's on YouTube. He's has 2 Super Bowls. Yes, thank you. He beat the Seattle Seahawks, and he beat the Arizona Cardinals, which was an epic game. And he thinks he is a top 10 quarterback. Colin Foley, a lot of people expect us to play all available starters from a momentum standpoint. Well, I don't care about momentum. And I understand that can work for you in some ways, but just sit my guys that have COVID and be healthy. Because, look, we're a running team. The Eagles are a running team. I think that bodes well for being able to, physical team, you want to have your guys ready and healthy and fresh. So I think it's more important for the Eagles to be fresh and healthy than have momentum. So I don't agree with anyone who says the Eagles should play guys just to play them for momentum.
That could work. That could work that could work either way. But I mean, at this point, at this time period with COVID and all the other obstacles that you have to deal with, it's not just the usual NFL injuries that you have to deal with. It's COVID as well. With all that, now you gotta try and keep your guys healthy for the playoff games. That to me is extremely important. You don't want to risk unnecessary injury, and they are a physical team. They could use a lot of these guys could use the rest. So I think you'll probably see a lot of their players maybe playing a half, and I think the same thing is going to go with Dallas. I don't think either team is going to worry about what's going on right now because the odds of anybody moving up are pretty slim. I mean, unless you think the 49ers can beat the Rams, the Rams are going to be playing because the Rams are going to try to get that 3 seed. So I don't know about it's going to be tough. I got the Ranger game on right now, Rob.
Yeah.
The kid Lafreniere has now scored, I think, 2 goals tonight.
Nice.
So yeah. 2 wins against Tampa Bay this weekend. That was pretty impressive.
Yeah, and we got the Flyers. Anyway, they're playing better too.
Flyers have a long way to go, though, Rob. Problem with the Flyers is that they played a lot more games than the Bruins, and the Bruins are only 3 points behind them and have 4 games in hand. So I mean, unless the Bruins really stink and they stink it up, or somebody gets sick, they're going to be tough to catch as the 8th seed because they're not gonna catch the Penguins right now or the Rangers because they're just too far behind them.
Jimmy in Florida, he's on YouTube. Steelers need 2 wins and Indy loss. Simple as that. Yeah, I mean the Colts play the Jaguars next week.
Don't expect the Jaguars to beat the Colts.
Colts are gonna win. Colts are gonna be in, and next week against the Ravens.
If the Colts hand the ball to Taylor 100 times, he'll have 1,000 yards that game.
I just don't think it's gonna be a problem.
No, I don't.
They shouldn't have tied. They shouldn't have tied against the Lions.
No, that was a really bad game for them. And I'll tell you what, they're lucky they didn't lose that game because the Lions were almost in field goal range. If they didn't self-destruct on their last drive, Pittsburgh would have been facing a loss.
And Bryce Blackwell, I just don't want to get in a boat race because the Bucs and Rams matchup not great. He thinks the Eagles can beat Arizona and they got a shot against Dallas. The Packers would kill us.
Look, what about the Rams?
Yeah, he doesn't like that matchup. I think they have a better chance of beating the Rams than they do the Buccaneers or the Packers.
Yeah, I disagree with that. I think they have. I honestly, I don't think they can beat either one of those 3. I think the one team they might have a shot at is Dallas, and that's only because Dallas got exposed. And if anybody was paying attention about how to beat their defense, that to me really is something that everybody had to notice. I mean, I couldn't be the only one in the world that noticed that every time Murray got the ball, he ran the opposite direction of Parsons. Wherever he was looking for him on the defense, and he was. There were a couple of times when he was yelling out his number and pointing at him so that everybody would know where he was. I mean, they were so conscious of him, they kind of took him out of the game. And I think that exposed Dallas's defense pretty much, because if you can keep Parsons from dominating the game, the rest of their team defensively is not a great defensive team.
I'm bringing up their schedule right now. So they played Tampa. They lost. They beat the Chargers in LA. That's a good win.
Yes.
They beat the Eagles in week 3. You know, that's not a great win. Carolina. That's not a great win.
No.
Giants stink. They beat them. They did go to Foxborough and win. At Minnesota, that's an okay win. Remember, that's a game Cooper Rush played.
Right.
Lost to Denver, lost to Kansas City. They crushed Atlanta. They lost to Vegas. So they got a couple wins on their schedule. I do think that's your best chance to pull off an upset is Dallas.
Yeah, I agree. And you know, they the Eagles have had history of beating Dallas in the playoffs. I mean, listen, if you're the Eagles, I think Dallas is the weak link out of those 4. If I was playing, if I was in the playoff, if I was a wild card team, that would be the team I'd want to play. I mean, I wouldn't want to play any of those other 3 teams. Those other 3, or the Cardinals, they're awfully good. You know, if the Cardinals play the way they did against Dallas, I think that the Cardinals could expose the Eagles' defense. I think they could expose their front 4 a bit.
Look, I'm not worried about the Eagles' offense.
Yeah, but they have to score because their defense is not going to stop.
I hear you, and you can't start slow, which they've been doing.
Yeah, and I mean they can't if they get behind any of these teams at halftime, and they're down by more than 1 score, they're not going to win the game. They can't allow that to happen.
Look, this is a playoff caliber offense in Philadelphia. You have a great offensive line. You have a quarterback who does just enough. You have a good running attack. I think you have just enough receivers to be, put up enough points to win.
Their offense is good enough. I just think that their secondary can be picked apart if you can just not allow the front 4 to dominate the pass rush and stop the running game. I think that's something that you can definitely take advantage of with them. Because all the teams that beat them, if you notice, they're all the teams that could throw the ball. The only team that really physically dominated them was the 49ers. But that's how the 49ers
play. The Cowboys, they ran all over them too. Those games were ancient ago. Like the Eagles are so much.
I think they're a lot better. They're a lot better team now than they were.
Better team now.
Yeah, they've improved as the season's gone by. I mean, listen. Have they won most of the game? Have they won all their games actually against sub 500 teams? Yeah, but you know what? They still had to do it.
It's true.
You know? And listen. They've done what they've had to do. Okay, they were able to beat the teams they had to beat. So now at this point, are they ready? Are they ready to pull an upset? We'll have to see. As I said, if it was me, the team I'd want is Dallas. I think that's the vulnerable team. You know, and if they can somehow, if they can get to a point where they can play Dallas in the playoffs, I think that would be their best chance.
Big Ben, Jimmy and Florida. Big Ben, every top 5, every statistic with 2 Super Bowls. He's top 10 all time, not even a question. Dan Shyrock, who's an A2D insider member. Congrats to Dan for that. Who started off 2022 here. It's hard to bet against Bama. He sees the Bulldogs wanting revenge. Yeah, you can want something all you want. I mean, I want to hit the $522 million Powerball. But just because I want it, that doesn't mean it's going to happen. The odds are stacked against me, just like the odds are going to be stacked against Georgia. Does
They're
Georgia
gonna
have
have
a
to
better
play-
chance?
Look, Rob, they're going to have to play a perfect game, and they're going to have to score a defensive touchdown, and they're going to have to score a special teams touchdown.
And that's
Because
just
look,
not what Bama does. Bama doesn't let up that stuff.
Georgia has a great defense, but Bama put 41 points up against them last time. What makes you think that? And what makes you think that Bama could, if Georgia adjusts and does something different?
But look,
What makes you think they can't do something different?
But look, Brad, the people who want Georgia to win, they just hate Alabama, and I don't really particularly like Alabama either. But I'll take the human ATM machine that is Nick Saban in Alabama, and I'll work it to my advantage.
Look,
more than I already do.
To be honest with you, again, Alabama's not my favorite team either. But I mean, you have to recognize just how good a team they are. Is it one of their vintage teams? I don't think it is, but I think it's more than good enough to beat Georgia. I don't think Georgia offensively is all that great.
Getting ready to kick the ball. Steelers getting the ball first. We'll live react to it as it happens. Big Ben's final game at Heinz Field. They're going to end next week in Baltimore. Another fierce rivalry. But, I mean, Steelers are up against it here. Brad, do you have a selection for this game?
I like the Steelers.
I like the Steelers.
I think the Steelers are going to be sky high for this game. I mean, the Browns to me, it's almost going to be impossible for them to make the playoff side. And the Steelers, listen, they're all going to be at the fans are going to be crazy. They want this game, and I don't think they can really do anything to stop them.
There we go. Run play. I need Deontay Johnson, the great Steelers slot wide receiver. I need him to have a bad game so I can win a fantasy championship. Think about
the Browns have a pretty good. The Browns have a pretty good defense.
Yeah, we'll see. And it's gonna be a Big Ben love fest on the. I mean, look, there he is, 5th in wins, 5th in passing yards, 8th in passing TDs, 2 Super Bowls. Had to go through Brady to get him. Better than Phillip Rivers, better than Eli Manning, the 2 other quarterbacks that were picked in that draft class.
Well, I mean, if you're gonna completely go by that, he also lost to Tim Tebow. So I mean, sometimes it doesn't always work that way, Rob.
I hear you.
Yeah, I mean, sure, you remember the Tim Tebow game pretty well.
Yeah, you mean the total fluke that was the Tim Tebow playoff win?
Oh, well, it was absolutely a fluke, but
it happened. You are
yeah.
correct.
I mean, the game never should have gotten to that point.
And I don't know, the Steelers because the Steelers and the Ravens, they need the Colts to lay an egg next week against the Jacksonville Jaguars, and that's not going to happen. That's just a tall task.
Yeah, and you know what? Look, I mean, in all fairness, the Steelers and the Browns and the Ravens, they all play in a much tougher division than the Colts, but that's not the Colts' fault.
Jimmy in Florida, Big Ben only needs 4 touchdown passes to tie Dan Marino. So if he tied Dan Marino in touchdown passes before his career is over, would that change your opinion of whether Big Ben is a top 10 quarterback or not?
No.
That's a big deal, tying Dan Marino in touchdown passes.
No, I understand that. But Dan Marino, to me, was the smoothest quarterback I ever saw. I mean, he was unbelievable. I mean, that release, and I just, when watching him, it was almost like watching Montana. He was so smooth and so good. And I get it. He didn't win any championships, but he never had the kind of team Big Ben had either. I mean, to win a Super Bowl, you do need help. It's not you can't do it all by yourself, because if you could, Marino would have won some. He only got to 1 Super Bowl, so again,
there you go. Ted FX. His name's Brad Ryer. He does a great job with me on the Sports Hounds for many years now. Would you rather have Daniel Jones or Jalen Hurts if you were the New York Giants, Brad?
Right now, I think I'd rather have Jalen Hurts. Daniel Jones hasn't proven that he can stay on the field. I mean, this is the second year now that he's gotten hurt, and you could see what happens? You have to be on the field. There's one thing, I have a pet peeve about guys who get injured all the time, especially quarterbacks. If you can't stay on the field, then I don't want to hear. I don't want to hear it. The fact that he's not on the field right now. Look, I'm not going to make excuses and try to make like the Giants are a good team. They're not a good team, but let's be honest. Would they be this bad if Jones was the quarterback? No, it wouldn't even. It's not even a second thought. Jones could run. He was not a bad passer. Okay, and I think as far as his skill level goes, I think he's got a lot more skill than Jalen Hurts. I don't know if he's as good an athlete. I think Jalen Hurts is a terrific athlete, but right now, I mean, you can't make that argument that Jones is better. Hurts missed one game this year. Okay, Daniel Jones has been in the league 3 years, and in 2 of them, he missed 4 games his first year, and then last year I think he missed 3 games because McCoy was out there, and then this year he missed 5 games. So, and again, I guess am I spoiled by Eli Manning to be so down on somebody?
He never missed any games.
Yeah, exactly. That's what makes Eli Manning so great. Is the fact that how the heck can you play all those games and never get hurt? That's what to me makes Brett Favre so great. How do you do it? I mean, is it luck?
A little bit, I think.
But it's got to be something. It's got to be something about how you take care of yourself, how you're able to avoid the hits, how you're smart and don't take unnecessary chances. I mean, we saw Eli run a few times, but he never got hurt. I think the only game he ever got hurt in was a last game of the season against Washington. I think he got hurt in the third quarter. He broke his ankle, but it was the last game of the season, and the Giants were nowhere that year, so he didn't miss any games.
We had a lot of feedback coming in. A lot of
that
Ben support.
Something.
A lot of Ben support as a top 10 quarterback. Ben has 2,400 more passing yards than Dan Marino. Also, the amount of young receivers that were great in Pittsburgh then fell off when they left says a lot. And then we just had a face mask call on the return, so the Browns are going to get some good field position here.
Yeah, and if you take a look at Marino's receivers, he had Mark Super Duper and Clayton. So I mean, he had 2 outstanding.
When he got into the 90s,
receivers.
When he got into the 90s, though, didn't Dan Marino? Isn't it fair to say that Dolphins didn't do the best at surrounding him with?
They didn't surround him with anybody. That was a disgrace what happened with him. I mean, he was kind of like, he was getting to be like Archie Manning. He'd do it all. He would do it all, and their defense would give it back. Because their defense couldn't stop anybody. I mean, he had that great rookie year where they went to the Super Bowl and then got smoked by the 49ers, and then he was never the same. He was the same, but you can't say that he was that the team was. The team was just not that good. Jimmy Rodweller is asking who's better between Eli or Ben. Ben was better than Eli.
Ben. It's all day Ben.
Yeah, Ben was better than Eli. But
I'm not even sure Eli Manning was better than Phillip Rivers.
Oh, he was better than Phillip Rivers.
I don't know about that.
What big game did Phillip Rivers ever win in his whole career?
But
come on, the playoffs count, Rob. Do you know how many comeback wins Eli Manning had? He had over 40 comeback wins in the fourth quarter.
Okay.
So, I mean, listen, Eli Manning raised his level of play in big spots, which Rivers never did. I'll give you Ben. I'm not going to give you Rivers, though. What did Rivers ever do? Rivers wasn't even the greatest quarterback on the Chargers ever had.
He couldn't beat Brady. Rivers could never beat Brady. He had some good teams with LT, and they went out there and they played, and they could never beat Brady. Big Ben.
He couldn't beat Big Ben either. When Rivers beat Big Ben once, I think, in Pittsburgh in the playoffs. I think he won one time in Pittsburgh. That was it. but he was never able to win a playoff game. I mean,
Never.
Eli did more with less when it came to when they made the playoffs offensively. I mean, he didn't have the big offensive players that any of these guys did.
Yeah, Rivers. I mean, that's probably Philip Rivers' biggest feather in his cap is that one year he beat Manning in Indy with a torn ACL.
Yeah, man, but don't forget, Rivers. Did Eli ever have Ladainian Tomlinson in his backfield?
No.
No. I mean, did he ever have a guy? Did he ever have a guy like Antonio Brown as a receiver? I mean, he did. I guess he did with Beckham for a few years there.
No, Mr. Wang, Rivers has the stats to get into the Hall of Fame. Look, I don't think Eli or Rivers are Hall of Famers. I think Big Ben's a Hall of Famer, though.
Yeah, I think they're both. I think all three of them are going to make it. I think just based on the amount of passing yards and their longevity and the touchdowns, I think they're all going to make it. I don't know how you can keep a guy. As far as Eli Manning is concerned, I don't know how you can keep a guy out of the Hall of Fame that won 2 Super Bowls. He also played in the Northeast, so you couldn't really throw the ball in Giant Stadium in December. That was kind of a lost cause to do that. So I mean, they couldn't just go and have those kind of games where you can go back and
Jimmy in Florida. And so Big Ben, yes, Big Ben is an automatic first ballot Hall of Famer. The first year he is eligible to be on the ballot, he should get in. If he doesn't get in, then the whole thing's a joke. The whole thing's already a joke anyway because the second best receiver of all time had to wait like 4 years to get in. So the NFL Hall of Fame's already in.
Rob, they vote for their friends. You know that. But
Big Ben, he'll get in because like he gave the media quotes and
yeah, he'll get in. I don't know about the first ballot. You never know with that because some of these guys are really
Jimmy, Rod Weller, Big Ben or Breeze.
No, I think Breeze is better.
Breeze has the statistics, but if I watch them both play, I think eye test goes to Ben. Big, strong, more athletic.
Not nearly as accurate though.
Breeze has the accuracy. Very true.
They were totally different. They were totally different quarterbacks.
Look at where they played though, Brad. I mean, San Diego, the beach, and a dome in New Orleans.
Oh, Drew Brees?
Yeah.
Well, Drew Brees played at the beach when he was really young. And San Diego was a terrible, terrible team back then.
And then
he couldn't really put it. For him to put up numbers for that team was pretty hard. When he went to New Orleans, he and Sean Payton were just a match made in heaven for those two. I mean, they only won 1 Super Bowl, but they should have won more. They managed to find ways to lose every time. Their defense used to always let them down every year. So I'd still put Breeze ahead of Ben Roethlisberger.
And like maybe I'm just Big Ben'd up because I'm being like a product of the moment here, but yeah, I think it's a real debate, especially when you look at the eye test. What else we got here? Dan Shyrock, are you really scared of the Bucs with everything going on with them right now? I know the playoffs are a different story, but they're depleted and have a shitload of drama going on. Look, Tom Brady is going to check that drama at the door and be just fine.
After Brown left in the third quarter, the Jets had a 24-7 lead. Okay, and Tampa Bay came back and won 28-27. 28-24 after Brown left. So as far as the drama is concerned, they just moved on.
Look, and you have a great coach there, and like they'll probably have Fournette back to run the rock, playoff Lenny. So I mean, I give the Eagles 0% chance to beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
They also defensively are almost impossible to run against. So and the Eagles' bread and butter is their running game.
So it just I don't think they can beat Tampa. I don't think the Eagles can beat Green Bay, but everybody else, like let's see what's up. Puncher's chance. I'll give them a chance.
How in the world do you expect to beat the Rams though?
I don't expect to beat the Rams.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think.
I don't think it's a 0% chance that the Eagles beat the Rams, or 0% chance that the Eagles have a 0% chance going out there.
Maybe a 2% chance to beat the Rams.
Yeah, 5-10% puncher Buster Douglas puncher's chance to beat the Rams. Yeah, I'd maybe give it like 20% to beat the Cowboys.
I mean, I think as I said, the only team I think that they have a shot against is the Cowboys, because the Cowboys have had, as we all know, have had a habit of not raising their level of play in playoffs and in big games, particularly in December and in January. So, yeah, we'll see. I don't know who they're going to end. I don't know that. I would assume they're going to play Tampa Bay. I mean, unless some kind of. I mean, I'm not sure how they're rating. What the deal is with them? They didn't. The Bucks and the Rams didn't play each other this year, did they?
They did. The Rams beat them.
The Rams beat
in LA. Yes.
So why would now? Do they have a better division record than?
Look, I
don't know. I don't know why the Bucks would be ahead of the Rams as far as the statistics go. If they won the head-to-head, and Tampa Bay, unless Tampa Bay lost twice to the Saints. So I'm really not understanding why one's second and one's third. Do they have a better record in the conference?
Maybe it's conference record.
Yeah, that's got to be it.
But yeah, I don't understand all these tiebreakers.
Yeah, but
yeah, Deshaun lit up the Bucs that game. Yeah, I remember that. Cardinals are beatable. Stafford has been terrible. I mean, Stafford didn't look too shabby yesterday. Their third straight road game for the Rams. They won all three of them. You know, they get a 20-19 win in Baltimore against a desperate Baltimore team. So, I mean, yeah, is Matt Stafford throwing the ball for 400 yards and 5 touchdowns a game? No, but they're getting wins. And they're finally running the ball with Sony Michel, who's a guy that we always liked here on the Sports Hounds.
He's always been an effective runner.
Odell Beckham is finding his niche with that team. Cooper Kupp's unreal. And their defense is pretty good. So,
yeah, they've got listen, the Rams defensively have a star at every level of their defense. They have Jalen Ramsey in their secondary. They have Donald pass rushing. I can't remember who their linebackers are, but off the top of my head, but I know they've got one linebacker that's very, very good. Just can't think of his name right now. But they got stars in every level of their defense. And their offense is pretty daggone good, too. I mean, now that Beckham is starting to fit in on the Rams, I mean, Cooper Kupp or Beckham, take your pick. That's tough to defend against both of them.
Yeah, they have Van Jefferson, too. He's pretty good.
Yeah, I thought, listen, the Rams are good. The Rams are good, and they're healthy. And that would be one team I would rather not. They got Von. Thank you.
Yeah, Von Miller. They got him in the big trade.
Von Miller. Thank you.
He had a big sack yesterday.
Yeah, I mean they're really good. I just don't. And they're as I said, and they're healthy. They've got everybody. They got everybody playing. Be interesting to see what they do against the 49ers next week. Because I think their last game is against the 49ers, and I don't know if the 49ers really care whether they finish 5th or 6th. Do you think that really matters to them?
To the Niners?
Yeah.
Well, isn't Arizona going to be 5?
I'm sorry, 6th or 7th. 6th or 7th. Arizona's going to be 5. Yeah, 6th or 7th. I meant. Do you think it really matters one way or another?
I don't know.
I mean, is that something that you're actually going to play for?
I think you just have to do what's best for your individual team and
yeah, I would think
go
that,
from there.
I would think that the 49ers, I mean, they're probably going to play they're not going to play Garoppolo the last game of the season when they
there's no you don't start Lance in the playoffs, do you?
No.
Plus the Niners aren't even in yet.
Sure they are.
They're not clinched, no. Saints can steal their spot.
Really?
Yeah.
who did this? The Saints' record is what, 8?
So the Saints are going to play the Falcons.
They're 8-8, right?
Correct.
Okay, and
Here, Jimmy Rodweiler. He's the host of the Flight Zone. He'll be on after us.
the
They have
Niners
to win.
so the Niners have to win that game then.
I think Jimmy's right. Let me get the friggin' playoff scenarios because it's
He probably is. I mean, if you guys say that's the case, I thought the Niners were in 5th place. We're in 6th place right now.
They are in 6th place, but they're not clinched. It's weird. But the Eagles are in 7th, but they're clinched.
Interesting.
And the Eagles lost to the Niners, and they beat the Saints. Let me look at this.
Maybe because the Saints have a better record in their division.
If it's a wild card, why wouldn't it be common of like? No remaining. Okay, NFC probably. San Francisco is currently ahead of the Eagles because of the head-to-head tiebreaker 1-0 from week 2. This website doesn't help me.
Okay, I mean, look. Okay, I mean, if that's it, if that's the case, then that's the case. I'm not going to argue about, or I'm just curious as to how that works. But okay, I mean, so San Francisco is going to probably. I mean, are they going to start Garoppolo next week then? If this playoffs on the line,
they got to do whatever they.
Yeah,
they need to do whatever they can.
The I'm just looking to see who are the Saints playing next. The Saints play at the Falcons. That could be pretty tricky for the 49ers. So they could lose and be out.
Trying to get it here. Current playoff bracket. So right now the Saints. Hopefully this is a winner. In the hunt, the Saints, Green Bay Packers have clinched the 1 seed. San Francisco is the only playoff team in a playoff spot that hasn't clinched a postseason berth. It can do so with a victory at Los Angeles in Week 18, or if the Saints lose on the road. So if the San Francisco wins, they're in.
The Falcons could easily beat the Saints.
The Saints' only path to the playoffs is a win over the Falcons and a Niners loss to the Rams.
Speaking of the Falcons, Rob, and I got to bring this up because I saw one of the dumbest plays I have ever seen in my entire life of watching football. Okay, and the guy who did something that dumb, believe it or not, was Matt Ryan. Okay, Matt. The Falcons had to win yesterday against Buffalo, which is hard to do anyway in Buffalo, especially in Buffalo. They're down 25. No, they were down 19. They were down 7. They were down 7 points. Okay, and they were down 14. I'm sorry, they're down 14 points with like 8 minutes to go. Matt Ryan goes and runs it in for an apparent touchdown. Okay, he goes and he gets a penalty for taunting. Okay, while they were reviewing the touchdown, they noticed that his knee came down on the half-yard line.
Right.
So not only did they lose the touchdown, okay, they had a 15-yard penalty, and that brought the ball back to the 16-yard line. And he did it on 3rd down and goal. So now they have 3rd and goal from the 16-yard line. I think you know what happened the next 2 plays. They had no shot because Buffalo just put everybody in the end zone, and he had no shot to get a touchdown. And they ended up losing 29-15 because Buffalo
That was one of my recommended plays yesterday. The Buffalo Bills -14. I pushed.
That may have been one of the dumbest plays I have ever seen. And this comes from a 38-year-old quarterback who should know better. You would think a guy like Matt Ryan would know better than to be taunting somebody. Because even if he had scored the touchdown, what would have happened was Buffalo would have made them kick off from the 20, which meant that Buffalo would have ended up probably returning the ball to about the 40, which would have given them so all they really needed to do at that point, being ahead by 7, was to get themselves into field goal range. And if they got themselves into field goal range, they'd end up with a 10-point lead with 2 minutes to go. I mean, does it get any stupider than that?
Not really. But, I mean,
as I said, I've watched most of the Giants' wretched season this year, okay? And that ranks right up with the offside against the Redskins on the game-winning field goal.
Right.
That was missed. That ranks right up there with stupidity. I don't think I've ever seen such stupidity in a football game. That was incredible.
All right, let's get back to our poll question. Our poll question of the night, in honor of Ben Roethlisberger and his legacy in his final game at Heinz Field. Is Ben Roethlisberger a top 10 quarterback? Jimmy, yeah, but the Niners have the head-to-head. So we just ran it down. I just looked it up for everyone that's confused, including myself and Brad. So if the Niners beat the Rams on Sunday, the Niners are in. The only way the Saints can get in is if they beat the Falcons and the Niners lose. So if they both lose, the Niners are in. So the Niners got to go for it. They got to win the game, and they got to get themselves in. So I think it'll be interesting to see what they do at the quarterback position. Because,
the other thing that's going to be interesting is, will the Rams go all out to beat the 49ers? Because, those two teams.
Well, how bad do the Rams want to be the 2? Can the Rams be the 2?
Well, the question is, how much do they hate the 49ers?
I would rather get the Niners right on out of there.
Yeah, if I'm the Rams, I want to knock the 49ers out of the playoffs. I don't want to end up having to play them in the playoffs, because if they play them in the playoffs, they have nothing to gain and everything to lose.
And Jimmy, it doesn't matter about who did what against us. The Eagles are in. They've clinched a playoff spot. The Saints and the Niners have not. And if I were the Rams, to answer your question, Brad, I'm going all out. I'm going all in to knock the Niners out.
Yeah, me too, because they should try to get the
I don't want to see them sneaking around in the divisional round, because
if you're the Rams, you don't want
well coached.
And you don't want to take a chance that the Cardinals win and then you don't win the division. I mean, the Rams want to win the division. They don't want to they want to win the division.
I'll mess around. I'll mess around with the Saints all day. Taysom Hill not winning a playoff game.
No.
I don't care how good Alvin Kamara is or how good a coach Sean Payton, and they're not winning a playoff game. It's not happening. The Eagles could win a playoff game, maybe. The Niners maybe could win a playoff game. And obviously the Cardinals, the Cowboys, the Packers, the Rams, the Bucks, those teams have legitimate shots to win multiple playoff games. So I'm going all in if I'm the Rams. I'm getting the Niners right on out of there.
Plus the Rams are playing for the division. And they want to win the division.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
So the Rams are. So everyone in the West is going all out.
And you know what? And what's interesting is that the 49ers have also beaten the Rams 4 times in a row. So that's a streak that needs to be stopped. So, in looking at it, that might be my best bet of the week.
What, the Niners?
No, the Rams. There's no way the Rams are losing that game.
Let's do early leans. That's a perfect segue to early leans. Way too early preview of Week 18 in the NFL, the first ever Week 18 ever. Let's get a sponsor up here. Give the sponsor some love. Gleason's Bar, 6700 Mill Creek Avenue in Levittown. Use promo code A2D, 10% off. Gleason'sBarandSteaks.com brings you early leans, first ever Week 18 in the NFL. Let's start in college, Brad. I'm interested to see because I haven't looked at this line yet. So Alabama's a 3-point underdog to Georgia in the national championship game. We'll be live reacting to that game right here on the Sports Hounds next week. So nobody learned their lesson in Vegas when the SEC championship game.
Wait.
Bama's a dog.
Georgia is favored by 3 points.
Correct.
You're reading that right.
Yeah, I'm a little under the weather here tonight, but I think I got it.
I will take the 3 points all day long.
But like it's +3, but it's only minus. I don't know. I don't understand how you can have Bama be an underdog to anyone. Before the SEC championship game, last time they were an underdog before the SEC championship game was 2015. It's 2022. But okay.
I totally disagree with that. Boy,
I'll
take the 3 point. I think Alabama's going to win the game and win it rather handily. I think they beat them worse the second time.
I'm not worried about it at all. See how much money is in my account. Hopefully the Steelers can come through. Then I'm going to place that bet tomorrow morning. Lock in my spread. I'm comfortable with the +3 number. I already have a $50 bet in from before the SEC championship game at 7-1 on Bama winning the national championship game, which was also stealing. Look, I just don't understand why people think that this game is going to be different than the SEC championship game. Why would it be? I don't get it.
First of all, the thing, and the most important thing was Alabama out-physical them. So
big time. How's
that going to change? I mean, I can understand like if you messed up and you couldn't stop a skill player, okay, you have a week to adjust and try to figure out how you stop the skill player, but there is no equation when you're out-physicaled. Unless I'm crazy. Am I crazy to think that, or
I don't know.
If you can't, if you get beat up in the trenches the way they did last time, what's going to change?
Nothing. And Georgia's defense is really good.
Oh, it's very good. But Alabama's offensive line controlled that game.
And I lost on Michigan. I thought Michigan had a legitimate chance to win that game against Georgia.
Well,
I don't like Georgia's quarterback at all.
You know what it tells you? The Big Ten was not that good this year.
But they were. They have like 7 teams won 9 games. So I don't know how you can say that.
Well,
Ohio State won the Rose Bowl.
Ohio State barely beat Utah.
Utah's good.
Yeah, but they should have beat them by more than that.
But they're playing 2 out there, you know?
No, I understand that. I understand that. But Ohio State should to me, should have been a lot better than that. They should have beat them by a lot more than that. So that's just an opinion, you know, and take it from where it comes. I can't stand Ohio State, so never could. But I just don't. I think that they were highly disappointing. I made a comment about my Rutgers Scarlet Knights that they should have not played in the Gator Bowl.
But good for them for stepping up and going there.
I don't think they should have played. I think that the way they got beaten up by Maryland, I think it would have sent a clear message to the players who are coming back next year that getting beat like that, just because you have good grade, they let them they pick them to go in the Gator Bowl because of their grades. Since when? I
think that they stepped up and took the game on super short notice because Texas A&M, they wouldn't let them play because of COVID.
Right. But you know what? Rutgers shouldn't.
Not everyone's going to step up and just take a game like that. You got to get your equipment there. You got to get your team there. You got to get them all back from break. You got to get them all COVID tested.
All I'm saying is that the players, okay, of course they're going to want to play the game. I don't think there's any question that they want to play the game. But I think Schiano should have said no, because I think that they're getting rewarded for playing for that awful game they played against Maryland. I mean, they got their asses kicked in a game. If they would have won that game, they would have been guaranteed a bowl bid. And they lose 40-16 at home to Maryland. Okay, I don't think they deserve to be in the. I don't care what happened. Okay, they don't deserve to be in a bowl game. They shouldn't have accepted it. You know, let William and Mary or whoever was in line for it get the game. You know, I guess maybe I'm nuts to think that, but I'm a Rutgers fan, and I just feel like, you know what, all they did was add another chapter to another humiliating season because they got their butts handed to them that game.
All right, let's get to the pro games. We got some Saturday games. Saturday, 4:30, the Chiefs playing the Broncos. Denver's getting 9.5.
That's not going to be enough. Kansas City's going to smack them.
Because Kansas City's still playing for the 1 seed.
Yes, they are, and they're not going to go away.
There's
they're going to go ahead and they're going to try to put all the pressure on Cincinnati and try to make them win.
Did he complete that?
No.
Right? That's incomplete, right?
Right. He's lucky that wasn't intercepted.
Right, okay. Well, the screen said 1st and 10, and Big Ben was like smiling, so I didn't know if I missed something.
Yeah, no, he should have. That was an interception that the defense dropped. Fortunately, most defenses, most of these guys that play defense have hands of stone. But no matter, the Browns got the ball back. So when you saw 1st and 10, it's because it's the Browns with the 1st and 10.
So Saturday night, 8:15, Dallas traveling to Philadelphia. I guess I'll lay the 7 with Dallas, not because, I like Dallas. I obviously hate Dallas, but I mean, I don't think the Eagles are going to be playing.
Yeah, I would think that. I would think that Dallas is going to go in there and try to get themselves right after getting humiliated yesterday by the Arizona Cardinals, especially their defense.
You got
the Eagles have 12 guys with COVID. That'd be awfully hard. That'd be awfully hard for them. I mean, if they can be competitive against them, I think that'd be something they could be proud of.
This game is a rock fight.
An interception on that play. TJ Watt all over the place.
He's a beast. But, I mean, this is a rock fight. I mean, there is just not much going on offense in these games. No. In this game right here on Monday night. Let's go to the AFC South on Sunday. Colts, 15-point favorites against the Jaguars. They win, and they're in. I think they coast in this game. I have no problem.
Is Wentz going to play?
I don't care. You can put Ellinger in there, and I think you just hand the ball off to Jonathan Taylor, and that's that.
Yeah, I think you're right. They should smoke him.
Tennessee is playing Houston. Obviously, huge playoff implications on this one for seeding purposes. Titans currently the 1 seed in the AFC.
And they're going to go out there, and they're going to play. They're going to go out there, and they're going to make sure that they win that game. Because if they have to play Kansas City in the playoffs, if there's a championship game, they want to play Kansas City at home.
They already did that. They did that last year, right? Going to Arrowhead.
Yeah. And
maybe that was a couple years ago. I forget.
Yeah, no, it was 2 years ago, and they blew a 24-0 lead in about 5 minutes.
10.5's a lot, though. I kind of like this Davis Mills guy with Houston. I think they show up. I think they show up, Houston. I'll take 10.5.
Yeah, I would take Kansas City.
And then you also have rumblings that Derrick Henry is nearing a return for the playoffs for the Titans. So
obviously, if the Titans can get 2 weeks off,
that's
they
huge.
win this game and then they get a week off. That gives him 1 more week to get himself back in shape again and ready to go. And if the Titans get him back, obviously that's just going to be they're going to be very tough.
This next one, Brad, is my play of the week. This is my hammer play of the week. The Washington football team is going to New York to take on the Giants. The Giants are 6.5-point home dogs. I love the Washington football team here. I know neither team has no playoffs to play for, but the Giants, they suck. Sorry, but they just suck.
They've been awful. I almost felt like celebrating when I heard Mike Glennon broke his wrist, and he's not going to be playing the final game.
Fromm is going to be in, who's ineffective.
But does it really matter if Fromm is in there? I mean, see, this is my problem with Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones is brittle, and he doesn't play. He doesn't play enough. You can't get him on the field. I think he's shown a lot, and I think if they had an offensive line, he'd show a lot more. But if he's not on the field, what good is it? So I would have to take the Redskins too. The way the Giants have been playing, the Giants the Giants have been playing so poorly. The last time I can remember them being this bad was the first when I was 8 years old, and I was watching the Giants in 1966 when they were 112. What was it? They were 112-1, and they gave up 500 points in 14 games.
Whew.
Defense.
Woo!
The last time, and I just remember that when I watch other games on TV, that nobody else used to give up 50 points every week. It was just the Giants. I used to think that was like, teams used to score that many points all the time.
No, not at all.
Nope.
Cincinnati's going to Cleveland. I don't think Cincinnati has anything to play for. I think they're going to be the 3 seed.
Win or lose?
I think so. It's so confusing though, so I don't know, but I would imagine that because they're going to have a better record than the East winner, right?
Buffalo is 10-6?
Yes.
So, and Buffalo plays the Jets at home. So Buffalo's going to be 11-6.
And then the Patriots all but in. They're going to play the Dolphins, who got eliminated. They got smoked by the Titans.
Yeah, well, both of us were saying, about them running the table. Remember when I told you
like
it was very hard? Yeah, I told you that was going to be a very tough situation for them.
So I don't know what to make of that game yet until I look into the playoff scenarios. Another game I love is I like the Vikings -2.5 at home over the Bears. You talk about another dead man walking, Matt Nagy. Plus the Bears surprisingly won by more than 21 points last week, so I'll go ahead and fade that. Put that 21 gun salute.
Well, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something about Minnesota. Okay, I think you're going to see a coaching change there too.
You think?
Oh, I absolutely think so. They're not happy in Minnesota with the coaching situation right now. They weren't happy last year, and they're even less happy this year. And after last night's fiasco, I mean, again, another case of
everybody saw that coming from 15 miles away. It was 8 degrees in Lambeau, and you're playing without Kirk Cousins.
Right. I mean, they're unfortunately for them, and that was their one way to try to stay in the hunt. They had to beat Green Bay. That wasn't going to happen. I don't care who was quarterbacking for them. That just wasn't going to happen anyway.
Dan Shyrock, Brad, of the Giants going to re-sign Barkley? Well, Barkley signed for big money.
Barkley signed for next year. Okay, the question should be: are they going to cut Barkley or trade Barkley? And
I think that would be a smart thing to do.
No, I don't think they will. I think that would be a colossal mistake. Okay, if you trade him? What are you going to get?
No, this goes to why you don't pick a running back in the top 10 of the draft.
Well, look, in all fairness, Barkley actually did have a pretty good game yesterday. He ran for over 100 yards, which is the first time he's done that. I do think that if he...
I know, but I understand that. He's a great player, Brad, but my point is it's not 1942, and you're not going to go to the playoffs with just a running back.
No, but at this point, if you cut him, it's $7.5 million. I mean, you're still. I understand you have a lot of holes to fill, but I don't think cutting him is necessarily the right move. Not yet. I wouldn't give up on him because he has the ability to be such a great player. I think you got to give him one more year. And if it doesn't work out, if they get off to a bad start again next year, then you may look to trade him at the deadline and pick up a draft pick. But I don't think that that's going to happen. I could see other guys getting cut on that team, but not him. He's not going to get cut. If anything, he might get traded.
Ravens, Steelers, great rivalry. Probably no playoff implications. Ravens -4.5. I can't imagine the Ravens are going to trot out Lamar Jackson for one game that's meaningless.
No, but it is Pittsburgh, though.
Well, they just play the kid, they play Huntley, and they try and win.
They might
I
do
do
that.
think.
I
Well, I
tell you
do
what, Huntley to me has shown me that I think he can be an NFL quarterback.
I agree with you.
So
And I know we're talking about Big Ben. That's kind of like the theme of our show. Is he a top 10 quarterback of all time? I think yes. You kind of think no, but he's not a top 10 anything right now.
who?
Big Ben. He's not top 10 anything right now. His best days are behind
No,
him.
yeah, no, he's not. He's well past his prime at this point.
Green Bay's going to Detroit. Detroit is a 3-point home dog.
Well, I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to be playing. So
No one.
I wouldn't. I think that I still think Green Bay will win, but don't expect Aaron Rodgers in there with that broken toe. I think that this is the week that you're going to let him rest, so he can have
Then you got 2 off.
Yeah, he'll have 2. He'll have 2 full weeks. Actually, 3 full weeks to rest that toe, and he should be 100% for the playoffs, which is bad news for any team that has to go play him. That should be probably helmet to helmet, right?
Look violent out of the corner of my eye. Ted, who do you guys want to go see go to Dallas first round to beat Dallas? Obviously, I mean, I want to see the Eagles go down there and beat Dallas. I think that's the Eagles' best chance to win a playoff game, and I'm sticking to it. So I want to see the Eagles. And absolutely, pound that like, hit that subscribe button if you're enjoying the show. 2022, tapping into a whole new audience. Continuing with our leans here. Getting you ready for Flight Zone coming up after us. Patriots laying 7 to the Dolphins. I think that's too many. I think the Dolphins still show up, even though that they're out.
Let me ask you a question, Rob. Could that be 2 unsportsmanlike conduct penalties for that play? I mean, the first one was the hit to the head late.
I didn't really see it enough.
And then the second one was Jadeveon Clowney took the guy's sneaker and threw it after he tackled him.
Why do you have to throw the sneaker?
I don't
what are you,
know.
6 years old? Why?
I don't know. Yeah, Cleveland always seems to have these disciplinary issues, don't they? It's it seems like they're always bringing in guys who are of questionable character, and you get stuff like
Look,
that.
I'm all for giving. You know me, Brad. I'm all for giving those guys a chance, especially if they're good football players.
Yeah, but you got to.
But if it gets to the point where you have them running off the field and getting an Uber to the airport because they just quit, then I gotta call a spade and kick them the hell out.
That's a
Clowney's not quite at that level yet.
No, but he's definitely he's trending in the. Let's put it this way, to be nice about it, he's trending in the wrong direction.
Yeah, that's a good point by Ted there. So the Eagles have the Dolphins pick, so I want the Patriots to win. I'll get greedy though, and I'll take Miami +7. So like Patriots by 4, we get the higher draft pick, and I win my bet.
That game's in Miami, right?
Correct.
That's going to be an interesting game. You know that Miami always gives the Patriots fits down there.
And you got the Bills and the Jets. Bills are favored by 17. Is that Deontay Johnson? Darn it.
17?
That's a lot.
Wow.
It's
Buffalo has been playing really well, though. I'll give them that. 17.
I gotta check fantasy now because Deontay Johnson just got a touchdown. No bueno. Moving on. I mean, you said your play of the week might be the Rams. The Rams are where I just had it here. The Rams are 4.5-point favorites against the Niners.
Yeah, I think the Rams are going to crush them.
I think the Rams are going to crush them.
Yeah. The way the Rams have been playing the last few weeks, they look like they are. They really look like they're rolling now. And Matt Stafford has a lot to prove.
Two more.
He's never been in a playoff game, so he has a lot to prove.
2 more of significance here. New Orleans is going to Atlanta. They obviously need a win badly. They're 4.5-point favorites. Why do I think that the Saints just stink and they're just going to lose and Niners are going to be in?
Well, I happen to agree with you about that. I think Atlanta is going to win.
And then the two most bipolar teams in the entire NFL, win, you go to the playoffs, lose, you go home, is the most likely scenario. The Chargers travel to Las Vegas to take on the Raiders. The Raiders are a 2.5-point favorite. I mean, Justin Herbert, the cream's got to rise here, right? With Herbert.
Well, at the same point, Carr's been very good this year.
He has.
And he's changed my opinion of him over the last 2 years. Because he's really he's stepped up and he's been really good. That's a tough game because you know what? The Chargers are such a weird team. Look, I think the Chargers have a better roster than the Raiders. So I mean, if you put a gun to my head and you pick the right team, you live. You pick the wrong team, you die. I think I'd invest my life on the Chargers and not the Raiders.
I guess I agree.
Life on the line. Who would you pick?
Herbert.
That's what I'm saying. And every time, and when you think about the defense, they do have Bosa.
They have good guys, but
I know they do. They
just have these brain farts. The Cardinals, the Raiders, the Chargers. These teams, they're good teams, but
they lose to they've had some hideous.
No, Ted, the winner of that game goes to the playoffs, I think. The Raiders are not eliminated.
The Raiders are not eliminated. They have the same record as the Chargers right now.
Because the Chargers let all these teams back in it.
I think they're both 9-7, aren't they?
They are, because they let the Texans beat them.
Yeah, they got killed by the Texans.
Let me see if I have it here. Yeah, so I don't see why if the Raiders win and go 10-7 and the Chargers are 9-8, they're in the playoffs. I think we're all in agreement that the Colts are going to blast the Jaguars. And then Buffalo's 10-6 and New England's 10-6. So one of them is they're going to be in. They're going to both be in. It looks like.
You would think so.
And then you have Pittsburgh and Baltimore that are just, on complete life support. So, the Raiders are not eliminated.
No, I listen. Can the Raiders beat the Chargers? Absolutely, especially in Vegas. The Raiders are very good at home. That's one thing they've been pretty consistent about is that they play very well at home.
Yes, the Browns are eliminated, Ted. The Raiders are not. They're 9-7. Chargers are 9-7. So they're right there.
But boy, I'll tell you what. Life on the line. I would probably bet the Chargers, but I'll tell you what. If I was a betting man, that's not a game I would bet on. I'd stay far away from that game.
I totally agree with that.
Because and with my luck, whoever I pick, the other team would win. So
I think that's a big game for Brandon Staley, their head coach, and Herbert. Is Herbert going to be a guy who can win big games, or is Herbert going to be, a statistical compiler like Phillip Rivers was there for so many years?
Well, I mean, in all fairness,
it would seem like all the pressure's on the Chargers, no?
Yeah, I would think they would be because the Raiders, nobody expected the Raiders to be any good this year.
Did you see those boneheads had another guy in their secondary get a DUI?
Are you serious?
You just had Henry Ruggs, world by the balls, first-round pick, new wife, new kid, go out, drive 156 miles an hour, ruin his whole life, get cut from the team, and you're going to go out and pound beers and then go drive? Are you nuts?
But they can't afford an Uber? And then they can go the next morning and pick it up?
Yeah, like I Uber should sponsor my life. You know how much I call Uber, Brad? Drive me around. I'm fucked up. Just call Uber.
Knowing you would have no problem calling Uber.
No, it's easy. You push 4 buttons on your phone, and the thing comes and picks you up.
I know
and takes you right home.
I know it's an app. It's very easy. I could even do it, for crying out loud.
Yeah, Jimmy in Florida.
That should tell you how easy it is.
Yeah, Browns, Broncos, Dolphins. They were all eliminated by the Chargers win yesterday. Raiders, I can't even say clinging to a playoff. Like they're right there. They win one football game. They're in the playoffs. Jimmy and Florida with a win tonight. The Steelers will have their 18th non-losing season in a row. Next closest to Kansas City with 8. And that's a huge testament to Big Ben.
That's remarkable, especially in the NFL. And again, Tomlin, I think you got to give a lot of credit to Tomlin, and you got to give a lot of credit to Big Ben.
Big Ben, and then Cowher before him. And then it's always stable at the top with the Rooneys.
Oh, yeah. Well,
that's like the benchmark of NFL franchises, the Steelers. You have one.
If they aren't, they're close to. I think the Packers might be the benchmark.
But like, what did Bill Cowher get hired in 1994?
Yeah.
After Chuck Noll, a guy who was there for a million years, retired.
Mm-hmm.
So you go since the 70s, you've had 3 coaches. You've had 1 owner for that whole thing. And I know you had some.
You know what? The one thing about the Rooneys is that they stay out of the football business.
They let other people do that.
They let their general managers manage, and they let their coaches coach. Okay, and the only time they get involved is if they have to pay a free agent. They just need to get asked if it's okay to spend that much money on somebody.
And they don't really do that either.
No.
They build in the draft.
Yeah, they do. They do. They'll go out and they'll bring in guys on occasion that they might need, but they are just a good drafting franchise, and that's all there is to it.
I keep it simple: trenches, defense.
Yep, and they always seem to come up. They always seem to come up with a really good running back. You ever notice that?
Yeah. There's Jimmy in Florida on YouTube. Since Ben was drafted, the Browns have had 28 different quarterbacks. Like, that's clown franchise shit.
Well, that's the Browns. Unfortunately, the second edition of the Browns has not been a good one.
Not football related. That's okay. We talk about everything here on the Sports Hound. Joel Embiid had a triple-double tonight against the Houston Rockets.
Wow, good for him.
Good for him.
I'll tell you what. Based on and again, I don't mean to be disrespectful to the Sixers, okay? They are not the most talented team in the league, but
not even close.
Joel Embiid has taken that team on his back and carried them to where they are right now. Because it hasn't been the same guy every night helping him.
You have a max player in Tobias Harris, who's more often than not out to lunch and not being a max player. And you have a max player who has no interest in really being on this team. And you have a general manager that has no interest in really trading the max player who doesn't want to be on this team. And and Dan is absolutely right. Dan hit the nail right on the head with the Sixers, because the Sixers, the real loser of all this, it's not the fans, it's not Doc Rivers, it's not Ben Simmons. It's not ownership. It's Embiid, because he's getting his career wasted by a bunch of clowns.
Yeah, he is. And Ted, in reference to your question about do you think the Giants trade for Wilson, I'm going to say no. I don't think that there's no point in bringing in a quarterback like him when you have no offensive line and you have nobody to throw the ball, just for him to throw the ball to. Okay? Build the team up first. if you trade for him, you're gonna give up your draft picks, and you've got an offensive line you have to build, and you have a defensive line that you have to build as well. And you know what? If they draft 5th and 10th, they're going to be able to get some pretty good players. So build that way.
Matthew Walsh, he wishes Jeffrey Lurie was a more hands-off owner again. I agree that team owner should not touch player personnel and or stay out of the head coach's playbook. Yeah, you're preaching to the choir. We don't really have that here in Philadelphia. But the Eagles,
I'll tell you what,
they do win.
Lurie has stayed out of it this year, and that's why the Eagles are doing what they're doing, because their head coach figured it out after the first 7 games that the only way we're going to be an effective team is to try to run the ball and then let your quarterback game manage the game. You know, he's a great athlete. He can run for first downs. You know, he's not bad when it comes to throwing the ball short. They got some guys who have some speed and can make some plays. He figured that out, and good for him. He did the smart thing.
Tobias Harris has been booed constantly tonight. Good to see. I mean, I haven't been watching the Sixers game. I can't really watch the Sixers. It's too frustrating. But if he's deserved to get booed, then he should get booed. I'm not for booing a guy just to boo him. You know, but if he's missing shots and not playing like a max player, then yeah, he should get booed.
I don't think any fan base just boos a guy for nothing, Rob.
Rager's been getting it all year because he's not Justin Jefferson and he's made some bonehead plays. So he's been getting booed in pregame introductions sometimes, but I'm not for that.
Yeah, I would wait till he drops a pass before I start booing.
Yeah, then I give it to him, you know?
Yeah. I mean, you can't boo your own players during pregame introductions. That's just not cool to do that.
And they said he's been horrible. How bad's he been? Let me look at the box score. I mean, I hope they beat the Rockets because the Rockets, 2 of their best players are suspended for tonight because of poor behavior, and Kevin Porter and Christian Wood. I don't really know what they did. But the Sixers are up big. It's fine. You get a win. What did Tobias do? Full box score. 6 of 15, 14 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists. I mean, that's not tragic. It's not $180 million max player contract talk. But
don't blame him for signing a $180 million contract. You'd sign it.
Oh, yeah, I would sign it.
It's not his fault. We're the idiots that gave him all that money.
Well, the Sixers are just – I mean, you know how I feel about the Sixers.
Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, for Joel Embiid's sake, and again, he's one of the he's an all-time great center, and anybody who doesn't think that hasn't been watching basketball as long as I have. I've seen all these guys. Joel Embiid is really good. I mean, his offensively, he reminds me a lot of Hakeem Olajuwon. He really does, because Hakeem Olajuwon could shoot the lights out of the basketball. Hakeem, though, the only difference is Hakeem liked to do that turnaround jumper from that 10 feet away, 15 feet away on the side. He was a side jump shooter mostly. You know, and Embiid will shoot from the outside. But Embiid is a really good shooter, just like he is. And they can score, too. And Embiid can play pretty good defense when he wants to. When he needs to play defense, he's very, very hard to keep. You're not going to score on him if he really wants to stop you. Let's put it that way.
If you're the Browns, you really give Baker Mayfield $35+ million, or you let him walk? I'd let him walk. I'm not paying Baker Mayfield that kind of money. I would maybe explore other options.
He's not a free agent, is he?
It's got to be close, right?
He's a fifth.
He went first in Barkley. He went first in Barkley's year, right?
But he's a fifth-year player, so they have to they can pick up his option,
which is fine. They can do that.
But it's not going to be $35 million. It's going to be like 10.
No, but if they want to keep him,
well, they could still let him play for 1 year.
But eventually, they're going to have to make a choice on whether you pay this guy.
Exactly. I would, if I'm the Browns, I go with Mayfield for 1 more year, and I get a better backup quarterback, and see what happens.
There he is, throwing the ball to the other team. Is that a pick or they get it? Yeah,
was he in
he
bounds?
threw right to him.
Yeah.
This guy stinks, man. I think that could be a sleeper team. And, like, if Aaron Rodgers doesn't hang it up or Russell Wilson.
Russell Wilson's not gonna hang it up.
No, but, I mean, whether he's in Seattle, I'm not sure that's a lock.
Well, that may or may not.
I'll tell you what, if Cleveland got their hands on Russell Wilson, they would be an instant Super Bowl contender.
Oh, I agree. I just don't know that his wife. I think his wife really wants him to play. In New York.
Well, she'll be closer.
Listen, she can play. They can play for. He can play for. There are teams he can play for that aren't necessarily that far. He can play for. She can play for Washington.
There's another one, instant contender.
Yep, I mean, at Washington, I'll tell you what. I kind of feel bad for them because they lost a lot of guys this year, and it could have been a lot different for them if they didn't.
Yeah. Oh well.
Yep, that's the way it goes.
Pete Carroll gets fired, and they keep Russ.
They're gonna fire Pete Carroll.
That's what Ted said.
Well, I'll tell you what. If they fired Pete Carroll, if I'm the Giants, that's a guy I wouldn't mind having run my organization.
Oh, Pete Carroll?
Yep. Or coach him.
Did give him like a coach, GM kind of contract?
I would rather make him GM.
Let someone else coach?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have like a preferred? Is it like a preferred hot name in New York in terms of coach?
The only thing right now that I can tell you what the one thing that most Giant fans don't want is them to bring in Kevin Abrams as coach, as GM, I should say.
That's the guy who worked under Gettleman.
No, that's the guy that's the guy that's been around for a million years and is Mara's buddy.
Yeah, that's
if Abrams ends up being the GM, you're gonna have an empty stadium for the entire season next year. Because I swear I've seen a lot of on the Giant fan lines. I've seen a lot of people just saying that they're going to sell their licenses or they're just going to take their tickets and they're going to sell them to the other team's fans and never go again. That's how disgusted people are about Mara. So Mara's going to have a tough week next week because next week Giant Stadium is going to be loaded with, or I shouldn't say Giant Stadium because that's not Giant Stadium anymore, but the Meadowlands is going to be loaded with Washington football team fans or empty seats. So I don't think anybody's going to that game next week. And the ones that are going to the game are going to be yelling some very rude, obscene chants at Joe Judge because Joe Judge is a babbling fool. I've never seen a bigger moron in my life. This guy, he makes Aaron Boone look like a Rhodes Scholar. That's how stupid this guy is.
All right. Anyway, that'll do it for this edition of the Sports Hounds. Join us next week, Monday night, national championship, playoff preview. Maybe start getting into some NBA, some NHL stuff like we like to do here on the Sports Hounds. Thank you to Frank for producing the show. Thank you to everyone who commented, subscribed, and shared the show. Thank you to our great sponsors at All Campus, Gleason's Bar, the Manscaped, Paul Vidal, Specialized Physical Therapy, the whole list of them. Until next Monday, peace out, everybody.